You guys just heard some great in-depth stories about some of the distilleries around the state. Let's take a moment to look at some of the other distilleries that are out there. There are over 100 distilleries in Colorado that are distilling spirits, and majority of those are making a great whiskey product. Let's take a look at some of those. I'm going to start with Talnua whiskey. Talnua means new land, and it's one of the things that the owners of this brand really felt was important. They went to Ireland on their honeymoon. While there, they had several different Irish whiskeys and really fell in love with it. And they wanted to bring it back to the States. They wanted to bring it back to Colorado. And what they ended up doing is creating the first distillery outside of Ireland that's fully dedicated to single pot distilled whiskey. They follow the Irish whiskey standards, the technical file. They use the unmalted barley and malted barley, about 50% of that. These guys are nestled in Old Town, Arvada. It's actually where I grew up, my hometown. And it's a fantastic place that's full of breweries, distilleries, and some great whiskey bars as well. So if you're ever out in Old Town, Arvada, you definitely want to check these guys out. And also they're coming out with the release of the first ever single pot still bottled and bond. So that's something you want to pick up if you come and visit these guys. Now let's talk about branch and barrel distilling. This came about from three friends that were tasting whiskey and said, you know what, we think we can do some of this better, and we think we can create a process that's better. They started with a still made out of a hot water heater, ended up making some moonshine and actually cutting branches, as this is where the name comes from, cutting branches off of specific trees and actually putting those staves into the moonshine. From there, they've obviously come a long way. These guys have won a double gold in San Francisco. They use all Colorado grown ingredients. They support local farmers, which is very important, you'll see throughout with several of these brands. One of the owners actually owns an active farm where they use the spent grains. There's a lot of unique finishes that Barrel and Branch has, things like plumwood, they've done a honey finish. Their mash bill is an 80 corn, 20% barley. And this is their main product. These guys are located in Centennial, Colorado. So if you're ever in Centennial, give them a check. And these guys are someone that definitely you want to taste what they call their three-way whiskey, which is some crazy finished whiskey that has robust flavors and a lot going on. The next thing I'm going to talk about is Bear Creek Distillery. This is one of my favorite places to hang out. Not only do they have some great spirits, but they have a great atmosphere that they've created since the beginning. This comes from four childhood friends that ended up growing up since elementary school that had a dream of creating a distillery together, and they made it happen. They started with just rum and vodka, but the idea was while they waited for their whiskey to age, they wanted to create an atmosphere, a tasting room that brought people together from the community, and they hit it out of the park. They have some of the best craft cocktails in Denver. They have fantastic music acts that come through and that you can enjoy, whether it's DJs or some of the top musical acts locally. And they've really grown with their whiskey. They've got a 5-age, this year is a 5-year-old single barrel product. They also make a rye. These guys are someone definitely worth checking out. They're in Denver, and when you go there, you definitely want to hit this spot on a Friday or Saturday night so you get that full experience. Let's talk about Boulder Spirits at Vapor Distillery out of Boulder, Colorado. These guys are really known for their American single malt whiskey. They also make a bourbon, they also make a great gin. But one of the things about these guys is they were the first American single malt bottled and bond product. And that is something that they're very proud of and should be proud of. These guys have the largest pot still in the state of Colorado, and it's a magnificent thing if you ever get out to Boulder to go see it. Take the tour there. They have a fantastic tasting room. They've really been leading the way and also working hard to get American single malt as a recognized category, an official recognized category, which is really big. They're working with the other 130 distilleries across the country to do that. Ryan Nagley's big in that, and he's been really trying to lead the way. One thing about these guys that I really love is when the Marshall fires happened in Colorado, it was devastating for so many families. There were so many homes that were lost. Boulder Spirits stepped up and led the way. With this bottle actually, which is a 3 blend of different whiskeys, these guys came together, released this, They picked it and selected it. I was fortunate to be a part of that with the fire department and sold this with all proceeds going to the community in Boulder. And I really appreciate their efforts in that. So if you ever get down to Boulder, definitely check out Boulder Spirits. It's a great place. There's a lot of great scenery there. There's a lot to do down in Boulder. And these guys will treat you right, and they have a great tasting room. Let's now head to Lyons, Colorado, Spirit Hound Distillery. The name Spirit Hound is about being relentless on the trail. These guys are always trying to improve. These guys actually only do single barrel releases. They're known for their American single malt whiskey. They also have a bourbon, a rye, and a gin. But this American single malt whiskey is so good that it actually won the Whiskey of the Year at the London Spirits Competition. I highly recommend you stop in. They have a great tasting room. They're nestled right in the foothills of Colorado, the gateway to the Rocky Mountains in Estes Park, Colorado. Stop in and say hi to these guys and definitely try one of their single releases next time you're around. Next, I want to talk about 80 Laws. Came around 2011, Denver, Colorado. These guys are well known for the quality of grains that are utilized in their mash bill. They have a heritage corn, a heirloom wheat, barley, and rye, all grown in Colorado that produce the best flavors possible. These guys have taken this 4-grain bourbon, they spin it off, they've utilized it for straight wheat, straight rye products that are just outstanding. They have the first bottled and bond whiskey in the state of Colorado. They have, one of the things that I really love about 80 Laws is it's a great place to go and learn about whiskey. They have something called Whiskey Church that is a great educational process when you go out there and take a tour. And it really walks through the distillation process. And it's a great place to start if you're coming out to Colorado for the Colorado Spirits Trail. I would definitely start at 80 Laws as one of the places to visit first, because I think it really sets the tone with quality and the educational piece that they bring. In fact, they're having an expansion coming here in the new future of a much larger tasting room and a educational experience. Let's head down south and talk about Art of the Spirits. Richard Paul sold all of his possessions to follow his dream of creating a whiskey brand. And he's done a fantastic job of that. He's got a great following here in Colorado. One of the unique things that he does is that all of their bottles, all of their releases have artwork on there that are done by 2 fantastic artists, David Yule and Daniel James. These guys have created these oil paintings that a lot of times accompany whenever you see Art of the Spirits at an event or whatnot. You can also purchase these fabulous artworks. Another thing that is important for Richard is that he really has supported the veteran community here in Colorado, and that's been something that he's now expanded outside of that. I know that they're recently working on something with the Navy SEALs. You can see even on this artwork on this bottle here too that they've incorporated a lot of paintings that have to do with scenes for veterans. And that's something that's really important. The last thing about these guys is they are building a distillery down in Colorado Springs, and they're gonna have a speakeasy that's attached to that. It sounds really exciting from hearing what they're doing down there. It's gonna be called the Gypsy Room. And when you get down to Colorado Springs, there's a lot of distilleries that you can see down there. You definitely want to stop in and see Richard once this is completed and head into the Gypsy Room and try some of these great single barrels that they produce. You can't talk about Colorado whiskey without talking about the OG of Colorado whiskey, Stranahan's Distillery. These guys set the tone for Colorado whiskey. It's an American single malt whiskey, 100% malted barley. Although Stranahan's has gotten huge and is nationally distributed and has several fantastic brands that they utilize, they still stay very connected with the Colorado community. And one of the things I love most about Stranahan's is just that. They have 2 events per year that bring hundreds, if not thousands of people together to celebrate whiskey in Colorado. One of those events is the Cask Thief event. This event gives Colorado consumers the opportunity to go to Stranahan's Distillery, taste straight from the barrel, several different experiments that are going on, collaborations. In fact, this year, 80 Laws, who we talked about, also partner with Stranahan's for one of those releases. It's a fantastic experience to really become educated and learn about all the things you can do with American single malt whiskey. But the grand finale of them all is the Snowflake release. Nowhere else in Colorado will thousands of people line up, freezing in December, to get their chance to get a bottle of the Snowflake release. The Snowflake release at Stranahan's is a collaboration and a blending of multiple different barrels, finishes, to create a great Frankenstein product of fantastic whiskey. It's unique every year, and every year is named after one of the 14ers in Colorado. Stranahan's is located right on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. If you have the chance, go there. Everything about that distillery, including their tasting room, is 100% Colorado. The feel is Colorado. The pours, the cocktails, it's very warm and inviting. Make sure you go there, say hello to Owen, the head distiller, and have a pour.